In here momentarily. Welcome to our Success Mastermind. It is Thursday, the 18th. I am John Lavenia, and I am excited to be here back in Arizona and sitting in today to talk about a few things that just came up for me. Just talking with my friend Gail before we went live about traveling and enjoying the many, many wonders of this planet that we're on. We have, I know we're a week out from Thanksgiving. Which, by the way, I do intend to be live Thanksgiving Day with everyone here. I do have a message that I want to share with everyone that's very relevant to that holiday. It's a big holiday here in the United States. I know our Canadian friends already had their version of Thanksgiving. I got some insights on that, which I think would be useful for everyone. So definitely we will be here for that. Today, the only thing on our calendar is what we're doing right now, which is our general session. So got a couple of things that came up for me today as I was working out. I had some considerations. I was thinking about, hey, Lindsay, I was thinking about what our time is worth. And I think this will serve everyone, no matter what your experience in whatever current business you're in or whatever age you are, or any other considerations you may have about the value of time. I have, for much of my life, undervalued my time. And I think there are a lot of people who could, if we look, who would agree with that. I've undervalued my time. Now, I've said semi-jokingly, although I'm not really joking, I've said that, my favorite four-letter word is done. My least favorite is wait. Okay, how much time have we spent waiting for stuff? Waiting for stuff to happen to us, waiting for somebody else to do something, waiting for circumstances or conditions to be right or congenial or something. I've pissed away a bunch of time waiting for stuff. And I don't like waiting. So it's become my least favorite word. Wait. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if we look in contrast, what would be the opposite of that? Well, that would be, action, right? Doing stuff, completing, projects and putting numbers on the board, so to speak. Well, that to me, that relates to done. Right now, here's the consideration I had, and I think it's a useful one. It is for me because I was just thinking about some of the projects that I'm working on right now that aren't done. Okay, these are works in progress, and I was thinking about looking into the future, and we can all do this. Okay, looking into the future, what would your time be worth once, let's say, these projects, these business enterprises, these things are up and running and done, right? What does that yield in terms of your own exchange? Right? If we're going to look at it in a linear fashion, like what is your time worth per hour, let's say? I'll give you an example. I have a friend who some of you know here. He's very active in the business world with online business, stuff like this. And one of the main projects that we've ever worked on together, he was doing some calculations on the lifetime value of a customer. It's actually a very good, Gail, I'll go ahead and mute your mic for you. This is a very good metric to look at, is the lifetime value of a customer. A lot of times people look at, why can't I mute Gail's mic? I don't know, it's not working. Anyway, a lot of times people look at the, what does it cost me to advertise to get customers? Because a lot of times, that's the biggest expense in your business, right? Is new customer acquisition, right? That's the name of the game, new customer acquisition and the ad cost that's typically involved with that. And so we can break down, let's say, for example, what does it cost to get a click to your website? And we could break that down to a metric called cost per click, right? Okay, well, however many people click on your website, how many of them convert into a lead? How many people raise their hand or request more information, put in their email address and subscribe or whatever? So we could take those same advertising dollars and we could say, well, that many clicks yielded this many leads. So that would be your CPL, your cost per lead. We could take it a step further, and now we're really getting into the meat of it. Out of all those leads that we just paid this much money to advertise to and get clicks to our website, and people have raised their hand, how many of them became a customer? And we could say that is the cost per acquisition of a customer. It's the same money we spent on the front end. Okay. But that would be our CPA, the cost per acquisition of the customer, which will, unless you're converting 100% across the board, it's going to be a higher number than cost per click or cost per lead. But then we get into the most beautiful metric of all, which is lifetime value, LTV. And so what is that customer actually worth? So we just looked at, cost per acquisition, let's say. And if you made more money on the initial transaction than it costs you to acquire the customer, well, that's good, right? So you're in profit and you can scale up, right? Spend more money on advertising in that case, okay? A lot of cases, in a lot of businesses, that's not the case, right? Where we have a higher cost per acquisition than we have profitability with whatever the initial transaction is. So we're losing money on the front end. That's the case in many business models, which would be like, who would do that? That sounds like a disaster. The more we advertise, the more money we lose. Okay, well, that would be the case if there wasn't lifetime value. So now we look at, how long did that customer stick around? Did they buy the additional products? Did they continue to participate in the subscription product or whatever it happens to be? And so anyway, we sat down and we looked at the lifetime value of the customers. And for every customer this person had brought in with a mature business, looking back over several years, they determined that the lifetime value at that moment, and it keeps going up, okay, but the lifetime value at that moment was $4,000. $4,000 per customer that they had personally marketed to, did the song and dance, whatever, right? Customer acquisition, right? And then what happened after that? Transaction, repeat business, upsells, referrals, which they didn't advertise to. It didn't cost me nothing, right? So $4,000. Now, the problem with this is that when you're new, let's say, before your business has matured and whatever, you tend to look at the smaller, the smaller metrics, right? Like cost per click and, what's it cost me to get a lead and all that kind of thing, which is a very short-sighted view because you haven't already experienced the true lifetime value of a customer. So with this example that I just gave you, you got a picture now of, what it looks like to run a business with a bigger scope, with a bigger view. Okay. So now let's bring this back to our own personal lives. Let's say you're not advertising. You don't even run a business, right? Okay. Here's the question. What is the value of your time? Considering the bigger picture now, considering into the future. Remember, the value of the customer was not apparent at the outset, right? Those metrics played out over time. What's your time worth now based on, assuming you do progress and reach goals and accomplish things, get things done, not just sit around and wait, okay? So I guess the real question then is, what is your time going to be worth? Great question. I was recently, as recently as this morning, and on the flight I was on yesterday, and I'm about 60% of the way through the book now. I just decided to read Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. It was in 1987, or when did he write that book? Okay, so we're going back a few years. And this was his first book that I know of, right? Art of the Deal. And I was just, and it's not terribly instructive, by the way. I will tell you, it's not like, here's how you do the art of the deal. It's mostly, at least the parts that I've read so far, up to, about 60% of the way through, was mostly about the mindset of doing the work and making the deals and loving. The guy apparently loves his work, right? The real estate development and fighting the bureaucrats and getting, the permits and getting the loans and everything that it takes to be, to build skyscrapers. But it was obviously a passionate thing. And what I got from it thus far is thinking big, thinking bigger. In his case, his father was a real estate developer in Queens and Brooklyn, doing little properties, little by comparison, right? Never touched Manhattan, right? That's like, whoa. And yet he wanted to play a bigger game. And so thinking bigger and thinking, what's that property worth? what is that property worth? Just like we could say your time is your property, right? We could look at it that way, which is very subjective, right? What's that property worth? Okay, well, is it in Brooklyn or is it in Manhattan? Is it on Fifth Avenue or is it on, the West Side, right? And we're talking a few blocks away. Totally different property, right? But thinking this is what this property will be worth once it's got the tower or whatever, okay? And being able to see into the future and then considering here's what I could sell that apartment for. It doesn't exist yet, but here's what that property could be worth. And we could do this many units and all this. Okay, so thinking ahead and thinking bigger and then relating that back to myself and how I spend my time. I started looking just today. I started looking at, all right, what am I trading? Okay, because every minute that I'm doing something, right? I'm trading that minute, that hour, that piece of my life for something that will either pay me properly or not, right? Now, there's lots of ways to get paid, so to speak. Okay, so let's say I spent an hour reviewing the news. Okay, so my time, just looking at what I chose to spend it on, my time was worth that. The whatever edification or I would say uplifting, but it's never uplifting. But whatever inputs that I got, that's what I traded that hour for, was to get, let's say, some perspectives, which I may or may not agree with or have an opinion about or whatever. But just giving you an example, right? That's one thing that I could spend that valuable time on. Now, thinking into the future, okay, let's say I invested that hour in something that could move the needle in terms of the lifetime value of my business. Sure, these efforts that I'm making now may not be, may not reveal, and they don't, right? They don't reveal the lifetime value into the future. But if I think like the person who already places that value upon my own time and effort, I'll make different decisions in the present. And this is allegedly what sane people do. So I've got to consider that. Sane people consider the future. Why am I doing what I'm doing now? Because I want to go there. So we focus our efforts in the present. This was something else he said in the book. Let the past go. Okay. Focus on the present to create that future. So that's another bit of perspective that I've gotten thus far from reading that. Considering all this, I just had to look at myself. I had to look at, what have I done that I would do again? Hindsight's 2020, right? We can look back and we could say for ourselves, what, that was good, that was a mistake, that. So that's nice. And that's instructive. Okay. That doesn't mean we're dragging the past with us, but it means that we're able to focus more on the present, which is so precious because none of us know how much time we have, right? But right now, what's my time worth? Well, I know it's going to be worth that in the future because that's what I'm building. So let me behave that way now. Damn it all comes back to the same principle. It's the same truth. It just keeps showing up. It's be, do, and have. Be, do, and then have. Okay. So if I intend to have whatever, tremendous enterprise and whatever my ambitions are, right? Well, then I've got to do the things that render that. Okay. But I've got to be the person now. You got to be it now. Right. And so in my meditation this morning, I was just thinking about, what is the best thing that I could sit here and concentrate on? Because meditation is just another word for concentration, really. So you could sit here and be quiet, and you could think about what? You could think about, well, you know what? I missed the mark yesterday, last week, last year, whatever. Or, all those troubling things that are going on in the world, which I can't do anything about in and of myself. Okay, outside of my circle of influence. Or, what would it feel like? Here's a question, John. What would it feel like now that you already accomplished that thing that keeps showing up? It just keeps showing up. It's the thing you can't stop thinking about, right? That successful, those conditions that you're looking to create, those circumstances you're here to manifest, that progressive realization of that worthy ideal. Yes, that worthy ideal. How does it feel to have accomplished that? All right. So sit there and shut up and go be that guy now. Go be that guy now. Okay. Wow. I feel so happy, grateful, confident, empowered, inspired, accomplished. It feels awesome. Okay, great. Well, that's your guaranteed future then. Okay, you already know how it feels now. So now go be that and start valuing your time as that guy, not the guy who's hoping for some brighter future or something. Be that guy now. How does he value his time? I guess that's another thing I got out of the book, right? Was where right in the acknowledgments, here's the Donald saying, thank you to I forget her name, who ran cover, who ran interference for me. Otherwise, I would have never been able to write the book, right? So obviously gatekeepers and so acknowledging, that this wasn't just a solo act. Yeah, I took pen to paper, but my time. In fact, it's a fascinating first chapter. He goes through like the first, like a week worth of activities. Like here's what his agenda actually was for this particular week. And he does like 50 to 100 phone calls a day. And most of his meetings are 15 minutes or less. This is what he was like lining this out in the book. And then I talked to Bob, and then I talked to that guy. And the next thing you know, the mayor's calling. And then the basketball guy who wants the fundraiser wants me to chair the meeting. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking, that guy's time is valuable. Okay. So sorry, it's garbage day. I don't know if you guys can hear the garbage truck outside my window. We always have very enthusiastic garbage men around here. Very enthusiastic. Okay. I think they're going the other way now. So anyway, it got me thinking. It got me thinking about, how big of a game am I playing? And I have been guilty of playing a small game, of thinking small, of valuing my time. Not enough. If my time's worth $1,000 an hour and I want to make that stick. Okay. And look, I've got some things that are worth more than $1,000 an hour that I do. I got other things that aren't. All right. Well, are they going to be worth that as it matures? Okay. Well, then it'd be a good expenditure of my time, even if it wasn't profitable. We're talking about business and money now, but even if it wasn't immediately profitable, right? We're talking about acquiring new customers and whatever, but knowing the lifetime value, knowing my metrics, knowing what that future holds, is it worth it for me to do this now? So I'm seeking leverage. Here's I guess the point for all this, and then I'll shut up, is what you're doing now, whether it's ostensibly and immediately profitable for you to the degree that you think it should be. Hey, my time's worth 100, 1,000, $1 million an hour, whatever your number is. Okay. Whether it is or is not in the short term, can you see where it will bear fruit in the future, assuming you play your cards right? Okay. Can you see where it is still a good use of your time, or is it something we need to cut bait now? You know what? I'm barking up the wrong tree. And I've done that plenty of times. So I guess the balance with all this is to not be so damn clingy to, whatever, plans, because they don't always go right. Right. Back to the book, right? The deals don't always go right. A lot of times they don't. There's a lot that goes into that. But are we barking up the wrong tree, or are we just paying the price that we know is going to bear fruit? It all comes down to, I think, your own ability to self-assess. But self-assess coupled with good counsel, I think. I see that my secret weapon is on here with us right now. Hi, Shannon. Am I filling in for you? Is that what just happened? I didn't even know were you hosting today? Well, guess what? I'm hosting. But good counsel. And there you can go into Proverbs, right? Solomon talked about this. Solomon had many counselors. He was the wisest and richest man of his age. Very competent, very, very wise. Okay. But, when he stopped, receiving counsel because he thought he knew it all, or whatever, he fell too. Okay. So there's definitely, more perspectives, because I can't see everything, right? There's more perspectives as long as, the people you're counseling with have your best intentions, right? And don't want to lead you astray. Now we're talking about, trust and, honor and integrity and stuff like that. Some lofty concepts, which I think are lost on a lot of people these days, especially if you do go and invest your hour in watching what's going on in the world. You'd be like, holy crap, this is like bizarro land over here. Really? So, okay. Okay. So does that diminish your own ability to cooperate, to trust with your fellow man, right? Well, it's designed to. Yeah, that's what it's designed to do, to make you all alone and all that. But I would tell you that having good counsel is indispensable, right? So Shannon and I, we're making some big moves here in business and in life, and I couldn't do it without her, right? Or without the inspiration of like my daughter. My daughter doesn't, counsel me per se, although she might argue that. Um, she's a little expert. And yet it's instructive to me, right? Her inputs, her ambitions, right? It's inspirational to me. Youth. And what's the old German saying? Too soon old, too late smart, right? What's her time worth? What's that 11-year-old's time worth? She doesn't know. And so I guess what I got hit with today after, reading the Donald and looking at my own life was, do I know? Or am I still behaving like an 11-year-old? Great question. I think I've made a little progress, a little progress. I'm not here to assert my rightness or anything. I'm doing a little bit more resourceful stuff than that. Growing businesses and things like that. But I also have to be real with myself, and that is that most often I've played the small game because it's comfortable, right? And after all, other people are doing it. So I'm not here to lay like this trip on you where it's like you need to really buckle down and reassess everything in your life. Although you could do that too. I'm just offering you an opportunity to look, what's your time worth? And are you spending it? Are you getting properly paid for however you're spending or investing it? I will tell you, for me, yeah, sometimes I am. Okay. And yeah, there's time for rest and relaxation, diversions, fun. Yeah. By the way, work doesn't have to be drudgery. I love my work. It's fun. Okay. Love it. But I'm just looking at, on a bigger scale, am I really thinking as the person, thinking from the end, as Neville Goddard would say, right, Missy? Am I really thinking from the end? Am I really behaving as the guy who already put up the skyscraper and sold the apartments for double the price? Am I already thinking that way? Most often it's no. So I got some work to do, and I'm happy to receive any perspectives that you guys have on this as well. So the floor is open if you'd like to come on down. Small group here today, so you don't no need to raise hands. Just show up like you own the place, start talking, unmute your microphones. Hey, Missy, you've got the floor.
Well, you mentioned Neville Goddard. I gotta talk.
Neville Goddard. Yeah.
You can't imagine your life. You can't. The problem is we think from what we want. And we have to think as exactly what you just said, as though we already have it. And that's how we be. That's where you get the be. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to do, and you have to practice. And I've come a long way. And I think it was last week on this group, you said, you're a coach. You gave me the John Lavenia clap. Yeah. And, it really made me think. And it is the only way to think. Of course, it's natural to think, what do I want? What do I want? How am I going to get it? But if you don't raise yourself up and go to that place like Donald Trump did, he must have a lot of dopamine too. I don't know. But you can't get it. You'll always be looking like this. You got to go up much higher. And I really appreciate everything you said, because if you're not in the end, you're not going to get to the end. So you have to think from the end, and that's how you are that person. And it comes on gradually, like you're putting one arm in your sleeve. The next thing you know, you've got them on, and or her on, and it's science. It is science. That's how it works. That's how everything has been created since the beginning of the world. And sometimes you just need a person like you with a lot of wisdom and experience focus it for us. And I'm very, very, very grateful. And to everyone in this group for letting me be in this group. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So glad you're here, Missy. So Cary Grant said, I just acted like Cary Grant for so long, I became him. So that's me doing half, right? Who is this guy? Who is Missy? Great question, right? And so the subordinate question to that is, well, how do I feel, right? Oh, confident, inspired, enthusiastic, all those things that I had, experienced in my meditation, seeing myself already in possession of the worthy ideal, right? Already experiencing that. Okay, then that's who you are. And I just forget again and again and again and again and again, because now here come all the inputs. Here come all the appearances. Sonia, what do you think?
I wanted to just touch base on what you were talking about with your daughter, Trinity, being inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I find, and I don't know if it's just my personality, but I don't think so. I think other people do this too, that it's easier to be stronger and more present for someone you care about than it can be sometimes for yourself and your own wants and needs. When my daughter was born, I was very young, and all I knew how to do was be a waitress. And I thought this fabulous young soul needed much more, was worth much more than just learning how to be a waitress. Because as a parent, all I can do is teach her what I know. So I immediately fought my way into university and had to pass a bunch of tests because I was a mature student at that point. Mathematical trigonometry tests without a calculator back in the day. And that was a huge fear of mine. And got no support from family. My family was, well, you have a family now, you can't go to school. And my point was, I have to go to school because I have a family. Because again, this wonderful spirit deserved much more than I could at that time give her. And the only way I was going to do that was to better myself. So pushed my way through university, did what I needed to do that, and taught my child the value of that. But also, I find now that my daughter is all full grown up and successful on her own. Yeah, I can take pride in showing her a little bit of those seeds on how to do the entrepreneurship, how to be successful, and how to run your own business and all that kind of stuff. But I find it much easier to put all that effort and forward motion in doing something for her. I find it very difficult. And I know I'm not alone in this, just by looking at some of the faces on the screen, and putting all that thought, effort, and motion into Sonia at 55, Sonia at 65, because that idea isn't fully formulated, but I had a very solid formulation of the idea of what I wanted for my daughter. I wanted better. And that drove me much more than just, I want better for Sonia. So it's very awesome, and it's very valid that you say that you draw inspiration from your child, because I think as parents we want more for our children than we do for ourselves. We want them to be more successful and have all the things we didn't have. But now it's trying to put that focus on my own things and reestablishing or reconnecting with Sonia the person, not Sonia the parent, and saying, what is, like you were just saying, what is Sonia? Who is she? What does she want to be? And if she wants to be Cary Grant, then what values does that impose upon her? And to try and just live those values. So that's what I was thinking. That's what you brought up today for me.
Right. That's beautiful. Well, thank you. And I didn't know where I was going with all that, right? I'm just considering, what actually influences my life, my decisions, how I spend my time, how I value whatever time I have here. And that is a major influence on it, which scared me to death at first, right? I didn't even think I'd ever be married, let alone a father, subjecting a dependent to my best thinking. Oh my goodness, no, not qualified. But I guess that's part of the humility thing, right? I mean, you mentioned, all right, here's Sonia the waitress, right? Is that the body of instruction for your daughter? Is that it? Right. So I think that makes us what? Value our time more, value our lives more, is when we know that, and we have the ability to confront the responsibility of, hey, this is bigger than just me. A bigger game. Back to the idea of a bigger game, right? It's not just me and my tiny little apartment building here. It's the skyscraper, right? the bigger game concept, which I again and again and again, I noticed that I haven't played it. So now what? Right now I get to look at others, right, who came up in the same circles, right, and have excelled in areas where I have not. And we've all got the ability to compare, right? We've all got to our own detriment, I will tell you. We've got the ability to compare our insides to other people's outsides. Does that profit you? Well, if it inspires you to, do something about it, then fine, okay. But if it doesn't empower you, then I would say cut that off right there, and be like, all right, what can I cause right now, and what counsel and benefits and associations can I create starting right now? I think everyone here has got a certain amount of experience with, dealing with people, and nobody here is 11 years old, right? Nobody. Okay, great. So since you're on here right now, you've got assets and experiences which are beneficial to the world. And so I'm thinking now it's just a matter of making them known more readily and securing those combinations. How many of us have experienced, just because we decided to think a bigger game and started to play a bigger game, that we started to attract bigger associations? I guess that's another thing I got out of the book, right? Is that, you meet with the other guy and the guy wouldn't take his call, he was just 25 years old. And next thing you know, he got into the meeting. And so I was thinking, here's somebody in their 20s, right? Like hitting the real estate market really hard. And here I am in my 50s. Different path. Got it. Different path. We're not all going to be a clone here. Okay. But there is something in you. There is something. Right. And have we put that forward to the degree that we know that we could? Those are my thoughts here. Anybody else? Based on what we're talking about here, is playing a bigger game and valuing our time as such. We got Virginia, Sonia, Lindsay, Ingrid, Gail, Edward, Daisy, Bob, Missy, Shannon, Virginia. You got some thoughts on this, my friend? It's good to see you, by the way. You're beautiful.
Good morning here, mid-morning in the mountain time zone that we're all in. Congratulations on thinking about moving to Florida. I think coming from Florida, it's okay, that's where I'm from. But when I go to Orlando next July, I'll drive over to Clearwater, fight the traffic to get there, and find you somewhere on the beach. It is
Orlando driving scares me. Anytime I've been in Orlando, it's all tourists and everybody's lost, and like it's dangerous to drive in Orlando, I think.
I'm really used to it out here too. Everybody's from someplace else in Denver. Nobody's really native, so it's all scary here too.
Okay.
So yeah, and we have to do it in the snow. Okay, so back to your topic. I've been organizing a lot the last month since getting back from Vegas and going through all this stuff and trying to downsize and compartmentalize and find things, and looking at bigger pictures is definitely something that I'm doing, but it helps when I actually make myself sit down and I updated my LinkedIn site yesterday, for instance, and I had to spend a few hours, which I sometimes work better at night because the official day is over and I don't feel like I have to report to anyone, even if that's myself. I can just kind of sit and do some things I want. So before you know it, I finished my LinkedIn site and converted that all over to Beamer. And then I did business cards I've been working on for the 2 businesses I have. And I'm looking at this picture where if I can just get some of these administrative things done, which are in my zone of genius, I can get them done, and I can get them done well, I think, instead of outsourcing them and trying to explain how to do it and then not liking what they do anyway and having to redo it myself. Just putting that behind me, then I feel I can get to a place where I can have this routine on a daily basis of looking at higher goals and what I can accomplish, because the foundation is more solid. The tools are in place. Like while I was on this call now, I'm also on Facebook posting in the different groups and updating my social media things and, focusing on that as well. So I didn't know, it kind of like just trying to, what is my time worth? That was an interesting concept. And a lot of times I feel that my time is worth a lot more than I give it credit for, but that will come, and that's fine. And evaluating myself and getting that moved forward. But I don't mind donating my time as I need to here and there, and helping fellow entrepreneurs and there's someone who knows what I'm talking about. So anyway, that's all. I'm starting to ramble. I apologize. But hey, Shannon, good morning. You're somewhere on there. And trying to decide. I'm making a list. I actually threw in an Excel spreadsheet with my grandson of the cookie recipes I want to make this year and how many cups of flour do we need. I thought he would do it, but he's too young. So he just read it off to me while I put it in. So now I've got to go see about actually making some of these recipes that I published.
That's it. Go make some of your own recipes. That's awesome. Thank you, Virginia. And we're going to make some of those recipes here. And Trinity will be the chef.
All righty then.
Yeah, it'll be very nice.
Let me know how they come out.
Oh, they're going to come out great. Yeah, I already know it. So awesome. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, everybody. Any other thoughts before we wrap up here for our general session? We don't have anything else on the calendar for today. I don't think. No, we'll do Brand Builder next week. No, next week is Thanksgiving. We are going to have a Thanksgiving general session, and it may be brief. It may be a marathon. I don't know, but I definitely got some stuff that's coming up for me around this holiday. This is a big deal. And then, of course, I'll be back with you all here tomorrow for our Fun Friday, or is it Formal Friday? No, it's just Fun Friday. Tomorrow, we'll have a lighthearted talk, and hopefully somebody will tell a joke. Anyway, you guys make it a good one. Thank you again for being a part of this conversation. It's an important one, I think. Love you guys. We'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.